Hi, Paul.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. You?
Yeah, very well. I'm stuck indoors, so I've been doing interviews all day,
Oh,
um,
really?
with the window sort of facing me behind my screen. So I'm sort of getting an idea of what I'm missing. But I
Yeah, it's
chose a
hot
hell of a
today.
day. I chose a hell of a day. Well, I hope you're enjoying the weather today yourself.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining me in discussing your film Shallow.
no problem.
Um, First and foremost, Spider-Man or Ant-Man? Who would you rather be?
um, oh, that's a good one. We'll put that in the script now. Spider-Man.
Yeah. And why?
Um, because you can fly around. I mean, Ant-Man's got advantages as well. He can
Yeah.
miniaturize, but yeah, no, I'll go with Spider-Man actually.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good answer.
Yeah.
So just explain to us a little bit about Shallow. Tell us what it's about.
Okay, so Shallow is it's a dark comedy. It's about two guys that are having an in-depth chat as they are going for a walk one day in a wood, and it's basically covering a lot of subjects along the way. And it's basically dealing with the preconceptions we have of certain people and playing with audiences' expectations. Yeah,
Excellent. And whilst the two characters in the film sort of quite innocuously discuss popular culture and social conventions or expectations, there is something much larger and distinctly darker happening in the background. Is there a definitive explanation to their circumstances or what's actually happening, or is that to be left?
we kind of know, yeah, what's going on, but we didn't want to hint at it too much. I mean,
Yeah.
some people have asked the question, what is actually, what was going on, or, asking a bit more about it,
Yeah.
felt that it was maybe missing that. But yeah, we know what's going on,
Yeah.
but obviously there's only so much you can do in the running time. So we
Sure.
tried to minimize it as much as possible.
Sure. So was there more to it, I suppose, like in filming or in the sort of treatment, and was it sort of pared down from that, or did you know
No,
exactly
no, no.
that you wanted it
No,
to
it basically developed initially from an idea that Joe and Mike, the two actors, had, because Joe wrote the script, and they basically had a conversation, which was to do with the film franchise that they discuss in the film. So they just had this conversation one day, and it basically developed from there into this bigger idea. So it was more a case of developing a smaller idea rather than trying to pare something down.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. The film discusses, amongst other things, gender identity in a comedic but fundamentally open-minded way, I think, and in a way that sort of plays against character stereotypes as well. How do you feel that media culture is tackling this and other social issues currently?
Yeah, it's become a much bigger thing right now. And like you said, we didn't want it. I mean, it's handled in a comedic way, but it's not taking the mickey out of it in any way. It's basically showing that these people have got very, wide-ranging liberal minds about the whole subject. But I think it's becoming a much bigger thing in a positive way. It's being handled, I think, in a very positive way. And it's become this thing where a lot of people are not jumping on the bandwagon, but they're dealing with it, I think, in the right way. It's becoming much more thing that, is being pushed and pushed and pushed. Especially as I see, in lots of festivals and stuff, the kind of subjects that are coming through in the short films, in the films, it's becoming much more important. I think that's really good.
Yeah. It's quite interesting you bring that up, especially with, all of the things that have been happening in the last year and a half. I think obviously something that I've noticed is that a lot of films, if not explicitly about the COVID-19 pandemic, are at least sort of informed by it or kind of sort of controlled by it in some ways. A lot of the ideas have come from that. And I know your film was shot in the summer last year.
Yes.
Was the idea of the film conceived as a result of the limitations that perhaps COVID-19 had set, or is it something that you already had in mind for a much longer time?
No, we actually had the idea before then. So we did a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter ended a week before lockdown. So we were due to shoot in April last year.
Right.
And then basically we got delayed. We didn't shoot until August, the end of August last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my initial idea is I went to Joe, because Joe wrote the script, and I just said, I want something quite small, quite contained with 2 characters, a character piece, because the film I'd done before this was no dialogue, horror film.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come, yeah, and then this has become loads and loads of dialogue, but it wasn't anything to do with any kind of COVID kind of restrictions. It was a case of, we wanted this small idea, and it actually kind of grew anyway, as these things always happen, you know, into this other, in this bigger thing. But it was always a case of, it was just a conversation between 2 people, quite minimalist. Yeah. And then it's when we got the location, it's what it developed from there in terms of how we blocked it out and spaced it out over that period.
Yeah. Obviously, it is a very funny film, and I imagine it was very enjoyable to shoot. What did you enjoy the most about the filmmaking process, and what was perhaps the biggest challenge for you as well?
I'd say most enjoyable, I'd say, is because I don't tend to go towards comedy as it is. So it was a fun process to be doing the rehearsal process with the guys. Basically, Joe would do a draft, we would meet up, we would do a rehearsal, we would see what worked and what didn't work, rewrite it on the spot, go again. And I found that really interesting, to just keep on meeting up and rehearse, to the point that on the day when we went in, we didn't really have to worry about any of those things, because we just rehearsed it. What was the other part of the question?
Well, what was sort of maybe the bigger sort of challenge? Well, I suppose you've kind of answered both, really.
Yeah.
Comedy isn't something that you're sort of maybe versed in, so I suppose that was a challenge. But
yeah,
you know,
yeah, it was a challenge, because I just thought it was pushing myself. You know, so initially when I took it on, it's kind of like, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone to a certain degree, even though it is a dark comedy rather than just being a straight comedy. Yeah. And that's what I tend to go towards, is more the darker stuff. So it was pushing my boundaries a little bit as well, you know, in terms of, could I pull it off? And then it's just working the rehearsals of how we can make these tonal changes work, and these jokes hit in the right way, so it all pays off in the end.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a very taut script, you know, and obviously, you know, a very funny film. It's also, you know, very thought-provoking too. You know, you end up, you know, sort of thinking about a lot of more serious issues. It's a fantastic film, and we're obviously really happy to screen it at the festival next week. So thank you for, you know, sharing that with us. Can you tell us what you're working on at the moment? Is there anything?
Yeah, I've got 2 scripts I wrote in lockdown, so I'm trying to get them off the ground at the moment. One's a drama, one's a horror, so it's just a case of trying to get finance together for them at the moment.
Fantastic. Well, you know, please do share those with us as well. We'd love to see what we're working on next. But Paul, thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak with me today. We really enjoy your film, and obviously we hope our audiences enjoy it as much as we did as well. Thanks once more, and lovely to meet you. Enjoy the rest of the day. You take care. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Dean. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.